Hey, welcome to the Thodcast, conversations about animation. I'm Philip Elke here in northern Minnesota and joined by, once again, now regular co-hosts of the Thodcasts joining from the great state of Georgia. It's Alex D. How's it going, Alex? And also Bridget. Thanks for
Hello.
coming on. Yeah.
Hello.
Hey. Well, we got another great episode for Thodcast listeners today. Thodheads, as we lovingly refer to them. So yeah, this is a film from 2015. We got on to the topic of Pixar. I guess this is our series on Pixar flops after Lightyear. No, and of course the voice of Socks, our beloved Socks from Lightyear, Socks the cat, was voiced by Pete Sohn, or Peter Sohn, as he's styled in the credits of this film. And he directed the film The Good Dinosaur from 2015. So I thought we would revisit this movie, which is a bit of a sentimental favorite of mine, and I think the rest of the cast as well that we have on today. I know, Bridget, you had kind of a story of experiencing this film that was very heartfelt. I'll let you go first in describing your experience with The Good Dinosaur.
Oh yeah, so of course. So The Good Dinosaur, I honestly I didn't know it was Pixar's like first flop until I actually looked into it. I didn't realize that like it didn't do very good. But of course it came out in 2015. So I took my daughter was like 2.5 at the time. So that was her first movie. And it was like really cute. And then of course, like some traumatic things happen. I don't know if we're gonna give spoilers yet, but
Mhm.
if people haven't seen it yet, but I doubt it. But yeah, there's traumatic things happen, some feel good things happen, but then at the end, like like a really big feel good moment happens, and my daughter started crying, and I was like, I was confused. I was like, I know she's not scared, and so she was just like, oh yeah, I was like, she was happy that he had a happy ending, and I was like, oh, like 2.5, like I did not. I mean, I should have known that she was going to be like a big empath at this at that point of
Yeah,
her life. But yeah,
complex
it was just
emotions. Yeah.
yeah, it was like really funny that I was like, oh, 2.5, but she understood what was happening. So of course, I mean, I have like a good time with this movie, but maybe I'm biased.
Yeah. What about you, Alex?
So I was surprised when I found out it was 2015 because I felt like it was way earlier than that. Um, um, sorry. I thought it was way earlier than that because my youngest sister is like obsessed with dinosaurs. So I remember um seeing it in like the theaters.
Hmm.
And I know that I had seen the movie, but I couldn't really like think about it until I started watching it again today. And then I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember like everything now." And then like I immediately was like sad. Because I knew like that I was going to be sad. So I was planning for my sadness. But yeah, I saw it in theaters when it had come out, and it's so cute. It was such a cute movie. I'm really glad like that I sat down and took the time to like rewatch that again today because I probably wouldn't have rewatched
Hmm.
it, but I'm also surprised to hear that it was a flop because I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it's cute. I mean, they sold merch. I have an Arlo right behind me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like it did well enough to have merch in the Disney store.
Yeah. I have a couple pins from The Good Dinosaur. Yeah, this movie was, I mean, it was almost a bit of a Pixar also ran in 2015. The big release from that year, the major hit was the film Inside Out. Definitely
Mm.
an obligatory piece to cover on the Thodcast, which we surprisingly have not yet.
Next
Uh,
one.
Hey, there's time because
oh yeah,
I did not realize they came out around the same time or the same year.
I
And
didn't know
Inside
that.
Out had me shook. I've never been so
yeah,
touched by a film before, especially as a parent. And I was like, oh gosh, like right to the heart.
yeah.
The
We
whole
will
movie.
we will get to it, especially with the Minnesota connection too. I mean, it's about a family that moves from Minnesota to California. I'm from Minnesota to California in 2015 as well, so definitely hit it at the right time for
Yeah,
me.
it was like about your life, basically.
This the Good Dinosaur originated as a concept, I guess probably early 2000s, but the first time anyone got wind of it in the general public was in a 2009 behind the scenes look at the film Up. There were some images on the walls of the Pixar studios with some dinosaurs, some sauropods drawn on them. The long necked style, Brontosaurus, Apatosaurus, Brachiosaurus, what Arlo ended up being. And it evolved into, the untitled Pixar movie about dinosaurs that would be revealed at a later D23 convention. But yeah, there was a lot kind of buzz about the film, and it was slated for a 2013 release upon its initial announcement, but then that got pushed first to 2014 and then to I think it was May 2014. It ended up being like late 2015, November 2015, that the film ultimately came out. So yeah, a lot of drama with this movie, I would say, in its ultimate you know road from conception to release.
Do we know why it was delayed so long? Or no?
They got a
Yeah,
they scrapped the director. I read that thing that you sent me. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I didn't do my homework. My bad.
no, it's okay. I was reading from the Pixar wiki
It
earlier.
was it was just because like they got a new director, like
Yeah, they like kicked him, they kicked that one out and got a new one.
why?
It was initially, I think, pitched or developed by Bob Peterson, who is a very noted presence at Pixar, and he continues to work on Pixar projects. I think his most recent endeavors have been this Doug the Dog miniseries on Disney Plus. I don't know if any of you have seen those or heard about. I think,
I haven't watched that one specifically, but I've seen it on the app.
yeah, yeah. What Doug Days or something?
It looks cute. We
The Doug
haven't
Days
watched
of
Is
it.
that
some.
the up? Is that the up
I don't
dog?
know that my kids have seen. Yeah, the dog from Up. I don't even think my kids have watched Up because I'm a bad parent. I'm like, I told Scarlett, my daughter, I was like, we have to make Oliver watch The Good Dinosaur because he loves dinosaurs. He's 3. I'm like, we have to make him watch it. That's the homework I didn't do. I didn't watch it again. Sorry, guys.
You watch it again?
Well, no,
You told me you were going
I was
to.
going to when I ran out of time, but I did read what Philip sent us. So
Yeah,
you watched it. I read it.
a good article about the making of as well from Slash Film. Hat tip to Peter Siretta. But also, yeah, as I read here, my voice is slipping into sort of the loose DJ vibe. I do actually work in radio. I'm not really a DJ per se, but something that I want to be conscious of so as to not just be the stereotypical uh, radio personality in my podcasting career. No, but yeah, part of why a director would get removed from a project is because after sitting with an idea for so long, things get stale, but it's hard to remove oneself from these ideas that just get so solidified and almost uh, petrified in one's mind, and then you lose perspective on what should stay, what can go, what's redundant. And so for Bob Peterson, I think just the way the film was transpiring, the story wasn't working very well, and he wasn't able to make the leap to just discard all the work he had done. So the decision was made for him to leave the project, and they brought on one of his chief lieutenants, Peter Sohn, to take over, and they basically just totally revamped the story from page one. and it was kind of a rush production. And a lot of these animated films that have very long development cycles end up just totally uh, evolving in and I guess transforming in their final year to 2 years of production. Frozen, I know, is a similar story, but yeah, it's a lot of crazy just iteration that goes on with these films, as we know. But Bob Peterson, yeah, he has yet to fully direct a Pixar feature, even though he's been with the studio basically from the beginning, from what I can recall. He is kind of one of those big figures, like an Andrew Stanton, like a Pete Docter, um, Lee Unkrich, uh, Brad Bird. Some of this main stable of Pixar directors. However, none of his feature films have really come to full fruition, other than that he was a co-director on Up from 2009. So that's my spiel on Bob Peterson and the film's sort of creative stagnation that resulted in his ouster. It clearly wasn't overly dramatic, as he still does work for Pixar, but I'm sure it wasn't a fun time being in that situation for really anybody.
I was looking to see like what he's done, because you said that he hasn't like directed anything solely.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he got a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Short Form Animated Program for Forky Asks a Question, which is a short on Disney Plus, and I have watched those, and they're very funny. They're very cute, which I thought was funny. But I saw that this movie was like the first directing debut for Peter Sohn. Is that how you say it? Sohn?
Yes.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's not like, oh, it's a flop. But I was like, I thought it was a cute movie. And I mean, if that was like his first time, like good for him, because I
never would have known it was even a flop. Like it seemed like a
normal
had I not looked it up. Movie to
me. I don't know. This Pixar Wiki article says that it netted sort of a loss of 68 million or something. I mean, movies and budgets and incomes like are kind of nebulous, because once a movie is made, it can generate a return in perpetuity, whether through like home media and streaming and things like that. So there's sort of an adage that all movies are profitable eventually.
Yeah, well, that's what, like, I read a different article on like Bomb Report, and that's what it said at the time. I didn't see what year it was written, but it was like, oh, The Good Dinosaur was Pixar's 16th film and their first and only flop at the current time. And that's I was like, oh, I didn't know it flopped. I was unaware.
You guys have merch. Like, how did it flop? Like,
I mean, I imagine they usually come out with the merch before the movie comes out, because they want like people to anticipate the movie coming out.
Yeah, says here net loss of 85 million according to the Pixar wiki, but
that's a lot.
Yeah, they probably would have made more merchandise after the movie came out if it were more successful. But obviously, every one of these movies has a pretty big marketing campaign that includes a lot of merchandise leading up to the movie. And there are probably Good Dinosaur Happy Meals. Who knows?
I'm sure. Yeah, and the thing is, I think it also like longevity, because like you couldn't go into a store and find the Good Dinosaur anything, more than likely. Like I see Buzz Lightyear stuff, I see Bluey stuff, like I see all these different things, but I haven't seen the Good Dinosaur since we got this at the Disney store in Hawaii in 2017.
Oh, so, your plushie?
Yeah, this plushie.
Awesome.
It was 2017 is when we got it at the Disney store. And so, because she loved it. And so I was like, okay. So it's lasted 2 years at least, but I haven't been to the Disney store since. But they probably, I would imagine they don't have the Good Dinosaur anymore.
You never know what you'll find out there in the wild. Any good stories of just like really random franchises appearing on your local toy store shelves?
I mean, hey, so what I see the most
you got
right now.
Oh, this is sock, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Oh yeah, I know. I'm jealous of her
Alex
stuff.
Sean,
has the
Sean,
socks.
Um,
like I needed a prop.
I know.
See,
I found this one. So now Philip, go find a prop.
Prop movie,
Pull up your
bitch.
pins.
Thank
my
you.
my comfort animal, my what is it?
Yeah.
My therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. Philip is going to find his therapy plushie.
Oh, a
I
Sisu.
love it. Yeah.
This is my
That's a good one.
my go-to my Sisu here.
Yeah. I actually had an Anna too. We have an Anna, stuffed Anna, but I don't know where she is. She's
I got a
disappeared.
bunch of stuff. I
Oh,
don't know
here she
why
is.
the one that gets brought out. He talks though.
Well, he's relevant. So I also have Anna.
Oh, that's cute. Anna, yeah. This movie does have an interesting Frozen connection as well. Sisu, of course, sort of related to dinosaurs, being a dragon. Um, I guess, and I was just in a Walmart recently, and I hadn't been in a long time. But I'm trying to remember if I saw any cool, just random things on the shelf. I don't
Well, there's like
know.
a big like nostalgia. There's like a big nostalgia like throwback things that they're doing in Walmart. I was literally just there today,
Sure.
killing time. But they have like a lot of gosh, what are they called? Like He-Man. They
Yeah.
have like those action figures. Like those are coming back. That's like big right now. Because I was walking through and I was like, man, this it's Walmart. It's much nicer than the one that's in Grovetown.
What Walmart were you at?
I was at the Evans one. They're like
Oh,
their toy section is much bigger. Like it was like full of stuff, and I was like, they have so much. They had like a whole like section of Bluey stuff. I was like, that's our thing right now. So it was great because we don't have that much stuff at my Walmart.
Yeah, I know there was some cool like Lego sets. But yeah, the um Frozen connection, I'll just briefly mention is um this movie went through several title changes and had a slate for 2013 at one point, I think during, let's see, on December 22nd, 2011, Disney shared upcoming release dates for its films. A mysterious film titled Frozen rested on the date of November 27th, 2013, which led many to believe that The Good Dinosaur, originally scheduled to release on that date, now had the title of Frozen. Um, but
oh.
that was just
They said,
speculation.
what will bring in the big bucks? We'll do Frozen first.
Yeah, I mean, back in these early days of speculation, yeah, I wonder who would have bet that this mysterious film from Disney Animation called Frozen would be the higher box office haul than the Pixar movie about dinosaurs. But I know I would have preferred the Pixar movie personally. Uh,
But they should have had songs. They had to make it a musical. That's how you get the kids.
Should have put the dinosaur in the blue sparkly dress.
Yeah, give them
Like,
ice powers.
this Slash Film article also made an interesting Spielberg connection. The author said there was a dual connection to Spielberg, and I was like, oh, it must mean uh, the film. Well, Spielberg brought us two dinosaur franchises in Land Before Time, which he co-produced with George Lucas, and of course that was a big Don Bluth directed film as well. Famous classic 2D animator Don Bluth, and then Spielberg was the father of the Jurassic Park films as well. So that was not the connection though to Spielberg that was being cited. It was the fact that in order to save on budget costs, they reused large sections of the same sets in this film, uh, so that they didn't have to just create a new set every time. It's there was a change in setting. A lot of this movie, The Good Dinosaur, is centered around a river, and so they would just use the same section of the river, but just in different positions, orientations to disguise the fact that they were just using the same section. And that was, a technique that Spielberg used in one of his earliest films, a movie called Duel, which is set on a highway. And he would just use the same section of highway and just dress it differently, film it from different angles to make it, look like they were traveling much longer distance than they actually were.
I definitely noticed the river being a big part of the movie, but I guess I wasn't really paying attention enough to notice it was the same piece of the river every time.
Well, I didn't even make the correlation that like the river and like the weather was like linked with what was going on with Arlo at the time. I didn't even make that correlation when I watched it. And then I read it and I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Like when all like, the bad stuff and all the turmoil is happening, it's not a good time.
Yeah, because it's as bad as dad.
I know. I was like, there was some foreshadowing. I was like someone's
got
dying.
like trauma from it.
Yeah. I think we'll just not be conscious of spoilers from now on in the episode. I mean, it's
at this point, you've had to have seen it, and if you haven't seen it, well, we're gonna spoil it for you.
We're like 30 minutes in; they'll be fine.
Yeah,
they've made it this far. They want the spoilers.
I was extremely decapitated by this movie. I was captivated by The Good Dinosaur when I first saw it, but I did take note of sort of the similarity to a famous scene in The Lion King when the wildebeests in that film are sort of a stand-in for an avalanche or a tidal wave of water, the swell of raging flooding river that comes in and unfortunately does the same thing to Arlo's dad in this movie. That was kind of shocking. I didn't remember that now rewatching it on Disney Plus, whether Arlo's dad survived to the end or was killed in the beginning. So I was surprised. Oh, see, this is why spoilers aren't such a big deal, because even I forgot that Henry, Arlo's father, died.
There's some trauma there, but I don't know why.
There was a headstone, the scene after he gets hit by the wave, and so it's like, oh, he actually did. Although perhaps I was remembering the sort of vision that Arlo had later on, also similar to Lion King. Simba has a vision of his father as well, but Arlo, has that dream of after he gets knocked out.
He's like all tangled up in the. Well, when that came up, I was like, wait, is his dad actually dead?
Exactly.
I was like, is this actually real? Like, is this a plot twist? But I was like, no.
No. It's actually all a dream. It's Inception.
That flood was just Henry's excuse to just bail on his family.
Been around this whole time, he just is also trying to find his way back home. Like maybe he got walked away somewhere. Who knows? There's a lot of parts in the movie that I was shocked about, like the pterodactyls kind of.
Yeah. That was a pretty brutal scene for a kid movie.
Every pterodactyl scene, my heart was racing. I was like, can we this is a little too much for me. I can't imagine children watching this.
Some real wild stuff in this movie, perhaps more intense than almost any other Pixar movie at times. It really goes at a 10, takes it to a 10 in some strange moments that maybe people found kind of off-putting and dissonant.
Dark.
Yeah. But I love that kind of thing.
Creature, just straight up slurps up he gets Arlo to save him and then immediately eats him. I was like, what?
I want to say I'm with Philip. I'm like, yeah, stuff like that I find so funny, because I'm pretty sure I was like, oh no.
Oh my gosh. I was like, how do I not remember this? Because I'm thinking okay, he's on his journey to get back home. I know he's got the little boy and whatever, and he's going to get all this help to get back home. And then, okay, his first little troop of people is the pterodactyls to help him. And then it's great. And they pick up the cute little fox or
little
whatever.
Fluffy thing, whatever it was.
And just immediately and the tail's hanging out of his mouth. I literally was like, the kid, this is a kid's movie? Like that would have been traumatizing if I was a
Oh yeah,
child.
They're
it's
kind of like freaky looking
They
too.
are
Like they
scary. And then you meet the T-Rex and like those are like the actually like nice
I know, I
ones.
love them. They're like, you're like a good like Midwesterner, like cowboy
Yeah.
gang.
I think my favorite part of the movie, my favorite part of the whole movie was when the T-Rex dad was spewing out like, this is what I need you to do, and it was like pretty much all foreign to
oh
Arlo,
wow.
and he was like, what? And the daughter was like, he just wants you to stand on that rock and scream. I think that was like my favorite part because I was like, that's so funny because I they gave him like 30 seconds of dialogue just rambling, and then it just cuts to like, what?
Just this incoherent sort of slang from out on the range. Yeah, we'll get the bulge on him. That was, I didn't think that was Sam Elliott because it just sounded too exaggerated to actually be Sam Elliott, but it is. They got Sam Elliott to do that.
They're like,
uh,
we need a good Westerner. Let's find him. Sam
yeah,
Elliott's your guy.
movie is basically a western or a, kind of a pastoral as well, like Bambi. But definitely, yeah, it takes place in the old American West on in the mountain range and lots of like buttes and I don't know the longhorns, just iconic imagery from. I mean, this takes place in
All
a
the
world.
corn, you got all the corn going on there.
Yeah, humans
well,
living alongside dinosaurs because the asteroid never hit. Yeah.
But I
well,
love how they don't give the humans any dialogue at all. I thought
yeah, they're like wild. They're like
I
wild animals, and the dinosaurs are like the civilized creatures.
exactly. I thought that was pretty interesting. That was something that I didn't remember about it where um
He like
the
howled.
the humans do
Mm.
not have for like a form of communication besides making noises, and it's not speaking, whereas the dinosaurs and even, well, I guess it is only the dinosaurs that talk to each other, huh? Because the I think like the little animals that we saw, like what
They
was
like
it
chitter. They
on the
like chitter
Yeah.
chatter
Triceratops?
at each
They
other.
didn't speak,
Yeah.
and I
Mm-mm.
think that's about it. But the
Hmm.
dinosaurs spoke and the humans
Mhm.
didn't, so I found that pretty interesting for them to have such. And I mean, Spot was such a big character in the movie and never said anything at all.
Yeah, kind of
Like he
freaky.
acted as the sidekick, as like, you have your Disney princesses with their sidekicks.
He
This
was
is
Pascal. He was
his,
the Pascal
yeah,
for Arlo.
exactly. But it's not what you would think. You would think, oh, a dinosaur movie with humans and dinosaurs. The human is going to be
Hmm.
the protagonist, and the dinosaur is going to be the partner. And this was flopped, and I thought that was a pretty interesting take, and I like that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like a boy and his dog sort of story,
Yeah.
but the human's the dog. Roles reversed.
No, it
Uh,
makes sense though. Like if dinosaurs would have never like gone extinct or whatever, like I guess they're in this world. They
mhm.
like were more civilized by the time humans came around. And like humans, like I mean, we just started off like, like everything else, making noises and trying to figure out how to communicate.
Yeah.
So like I
Eating
feel like
corn.
yeah, eating corn, stealing corn from dinosaurs, howling at the moon. Uh,
Like these dinosaurs are like farming and have like a routine for their day. And then
they
this
have
kid
Yeah.
goes
silos.
to the little silo and starts like tearing up the crops. And they're like, what's happening? What creature is taking our crops? It's like a little boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anthropomorphizing in this film. I mean, John Lasseter talked about it at one of the D23 expos. I think D23 Expo has always been um, every other year until pandemic. They put it off an extra year, but it's like going on. It just happened, right? D23
No, it's
Expo.
about it's about to
It's
happen.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
in September, right?
September, yeah, because
Yeah.
Lindsay's going.
Lindsay's
Uh,
going.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Our friend's going.
Um, it and
Heather's going too, Philip.
oh yeah, yeah. She was on our Cruella episode. Hope to have her back on the show. Um, and yeah, we are well, we're talking about John Lasseter. He just had a movie come out too that we could talk about on here. Luck on Apple TV. So I don't know if yeah, if you haven't heard of it.
I've heard of it. I don't have Apple TV though. I
Okay.
need to get with the times, get the other streaming channels.
For sure. But the design of the dinosaurs, Lasseter mentioned that they were going to be cartoony looking, but not anthropomorphized to the extent that they're like wearing clothes and walking on hind legs, like in Zootopia or something. But yeah, the designs of the characters here are fairly exaggerated. I guess that's an understatement. They're extremely, Spot's head is, three-fourths the size of his body. It's pretty insane. But then the dinosaurs themselves also are very kind of bizarre. I don't know, balloon-like almost. They're very noodly, like in classical.
Very good way
Yeah.
to describe them. Balloon
Yeah.
like and noodly
Yeah.
is exactly what they look like.
Yes.
That's perfect. That is absolutely it. Like they look like dinosaurs. You obviously know they are dinosaurs, but they are very
They're too fluid.
like it's a cartoon. Like it is a very much a
Yeah.
after watching The Good Dinosaur, I put on Dinosaur,
Mhm.
Disney's Dinosaur, and I was like, okay, I know that is an old movie, but it's a little too realistic looking for my liking. So I kind of I didn't end up finishing it, but I was getting kind of into it. But anyways, I appreciate this more childlike cartoon approach. But especially going along with the storyline is the story is dark and there's like a lot of crazy things that happen. I feel like it for it to be marketed towards kids with this storyline, you did need something that was more bulbous and unreal,
Well, it was like welcoming. It's like you don't want it to be like you don't want Jurassic Park because then it's like it's too realistic.
right.
But if you go like too cartoony, then it's like, oh, it's like an
joke
episode of
almost.
Scooby-Doo, but
Yeah.
like dinosaurs.
Yeah, there's several animals that I've read, described that they reference. They referenced when designing the dinosaurs and animating their movements. Elephants primarily for the four-legged dinosaurs, but also giraffes. They first studied
I
giraffes.
bet giraffes is in there because Arlo definitely gave his legs the way he walked, especially like
It reminded me of a baby giraffe.
when he was hurt and getting out of the water when he's all banged up, his knees are all scraped and stuff. I was like, this looks too good. Like so it looked like newborn baby giraffe. What else did they reference?
Well, because giraffes' necks are a bit too stiff for what they were going for here, camels ended up being a more reliable reference for the neck movements.
Wow.
And then
they have like their necks on a swivel too. Like it was funny because I never made the correlation until I read it, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like they really do, because he was all like floppy. He was a very floppy dinosaur.
Floppy, yes.
Yeah, very floppy.
Yeah. Then ostriches for the bipedal dinosaurs, like the T-Rexes and such.
Well, I thought it was interesting, that article. So it was like they didn't want the T-Rexes to actually run like T-Rexes. They wanted them to run like they were like cowboys on a horse. So that's why they look like they're like riding a horse, not running like like they're galloping. They're not actually like running like a T-Rex would, all crunched over and stuff. They're like, no, they are cowboys. That's what we want.
Yeah. It says
they sure were cowboys too.
Yeah.
They really were. They were living their best life.
Like, yeah. I love the T-Rex scene in the movie. I thought it was so. Then what are they going after? Like bison or yaks?
Yeah, they have like bison, and then like it's like velociraptors are like the ones trying to like them. Yeah,
the rustlers.
Yeah, they're like crazy, and they're like, "Hey, let me eat your stuff," and they're like, "No, no."
Wrangle them, get them free.
See, that was Anna Paquin is Ramsey, the girl
Mhm.
T-Rex. AJ Buckley, Nash. I'm not sure what else he's been in. Anna Paquin, of course, a lot of
She
things.
was True Blood.
Yeah, she was Rogue in
There's
X-Men. Yeah. Um, oh, the guy who did the crazy Triceratops type dinosaur with all the pets is Steve Zahn, and I think everyone from our generation would recognize him as sort of the nerdy Star Trekky guy in Daddy Daycare. We all saw that, didn't we?
A long time ago. Yeah, yeah.
Millennials.
Yeah, I remember he was in a lot of like funny movies back then.
Yeah.
Like he was Saving Silverman. He was in all those movies. You've
A
Got
lot of
Mail.
voices sounded familiar in this movie, but
Yeah.
and I didn't look anything up. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I like to see what you guys teach me, but I heard a lot of familiar voices, but not anything that I was like anything I could place. So
Well, Sam Elliott, I feel like he was the one that I was like, that's Sam Elliott.
that was
His
the
voice is
T-Rex.
so like he was like the dad T-Rex.
Who was Arlo's dad? Is he anybody?
Was
Yeah.
it John Lithgow? Was that the dad? Papa?
Originally, they re-recorded a bunch of dialogue and they recast the John Lithgow character
Oh.
to that role. It ended up going to Jeffrey Wright. And let's see, Jeffrey Wright, he's famous for Felix Leiter from the James Bond films.
Oh, I love him. He was in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, he's been in tons of
He's one of
stuff.
the really smart guys when they had to like when all the like winners had to fight each other. He was like the nerdy, really smart guy.
Oh yeah, he was just Commissioner Gordon, Lieutenant James Gordon in The Batman,
Mm-hmm.
and he's in Westworld, plays Bernard. Yeah, tons of stuff. I feel like he was recently a voice. Well, he was in the Marvel What If series as the Watcher.
Yes, yeah. He has a great voice. Like
Mhm.
he has a good voice for that.
Yeah.
He should just keep doing that.
Frances McDormand was initially announced in the role she plays, Ida, the Arlo's mother, and she did return to re-record her lines. Yeah, so that stayed the same. Frances McDormand, I feel, has she been in other Pixar films? She seems like someone that they
She
would.
sounds like a
Well,
Pixar
she's like,
mom.
she's
Yeah.
like from Fargo and like the Three Billboards movie. Like she's been in like some more serious
Very
stuff, I feel like.
prestigious, yeah.
Yeah. Like she's a big name, but I don't know. I don't know if she's like lended her voice to other stuff.
Oh, she has won. How many Oscars do you think she's won?
I'm gonna say 5.
Oh, yeah, you're going high. Close.
Okay.
So
Okay.
try again.
Well, I was
Four.
gonna say 6 originally. That's what I was 3. I don't know.
Alex, did you say?
She said 4.
Yep, you got it.
For what?
Let's see. I know Fargo was one. Nomadland. Yeah, she. Uh, let's see. She was one of the producers on Nomadland. Okay.
Well, she's
So
one of the producers for this movie. Like she was one of the
Wow.
ones that was listed as the producer
oh,
for the Good
For
Dinosaur.
her.
on
I'm pretty
really?
sure.
I
Well,
mean,
at least it said it on Wiki. It could be wrong, but
no,
I think
maybe
that's
you're
what
right.
it said.
And let's see. So actress, she got an Oscar win for her performance as well as Best Picture for Nomadland, but won for Three Billboards as well in 2018.
I knew she got the Oscar for that. That one got
Yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
yeah.
Oh, she was a voice in Madagascar, the movies.
There you go.
I'm trying to figure out who. My phone's not loading.
So yeah, 3 performance Oscars: Fargo, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Nomadland. And then also because she was producer on Nomadland, she won the Oscar for that. So that's
have
the
you guys
4.
have you guys watched Good Omens on Amazon Prime? It
No.
has, oh, it's good. It
I don't
has
have
David
that.
Tennant and I think Martin Sheen, and they're basically like devil, god, or like angel, demon kind of thing.
Mm.
But she is a god slash narrator for that. I didn't realize that. I was trying to figure out who she was. She is Captain Chantal Dubois in Madagascar 3. So
I gotta, yeah, I can't say I recall that voice, but I do have to fact check myself. I think I said Steve Zahn was the voice of the Triceratops type dinosaur, the pet collector. That's actually Pete Sohn. That's Socks who has the
well,
pet collector. But Steve Zahn was the crazy cult leader pterodactyl.
you know what,
That's
that makes sense
makes more
because
sense.
his voice fits that. I can see that. Because I was like, yeah, he went kind of like really monotone if that was him, but I mean,
Yeah.
voice acting is something that apparently really good actors can do.
Both very comedic performances. And then Arlo is Raymond Ochoa, who hasn't done a whole lot, I guess.
He was like a child.
Yeah,
I'd
he was very
imagine
young.
he needed to be one.
Yeah, he was like 14 when they
Yeah.
did that movie.
He does stuff. He stays busy, making presumably just a bunch of homebrew stuff. These shorts called the Ochoa Boys. I think he does with his brothers. So very self-motivated dude. He was in the Walking Dead video game. He voiced Dash from The Incredibles in Disney Infinity. So he's got a career ahead of him.
Well, I think it's funny that there is like they got a young voice actor or just a young actor for Spot.
Yeah,
I'm like, you guys just didn't want to get like Alan Tudyk
if
just
they
like howl at everything.
I was gonna say, like, did they hire somebody for that,
Mhm.
or did they just like obviously they would have needed to hire someone for that, but I didn't know if they like sought someone specifically for that role or because there was so limited uh you know sounds from him. I didn't know if
Mhm.
it was just something that they could have just put together with anyone. So they did hire like specifically someone for that.
His name's
His name
Jack.
is, yeah,
Uh,
go ahead.
oh,
You finish.
Bridget. I'll let you read it. You were first.
His name, yeah, his name is Jack Bright. And he actually he was additional children's voices in Monsters University 2 years earlier. And then he did Disney Infinity, the voice of Spot, and then the Good Dinosaur, and then Lego The Incredibles, also the voice of Spot. So
Oh wow.
they're like, yeah, here's your credits. Howl. We just
Howl.
need you to howl
Make
and pants.
noises. That's
Yes, grunt. You're doing great, honey.
You're doing good enough. I'll put you in the video game.
Yeah, I did not realize that they got like a whole person.
No, yeah, because I feel like you could have just used anybody on staff that day to just
Okay, maybe
make
they
some noise
wanted
to the
him.
microphone. So
Yeah, it might have been that they wanted him to sound like a kid. And
yeah,
so they didn't just like get some random guy in production to make noises.
Man.
They're like, hey, we need him to be a child.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's making animal noises like barking and all the howling, and that's clearly not derived from real life animal noises or something manufactured in the studio. It's a full performance.
All Jack.
So
Yeah.
yeah, killing it.
Yeah,
Can't wait to see what he does next.
Shout out to Jack.
The T-Rexes are roaring at the the retreating velociraptors. That's clearly a sound effect for the T-Rexes, but then Arlo joins in and it's just his voice, Raymond Ochoa doing his best roar. It's kind of funny. This movie being about the runt of the litter, more or less. Arlo he came from the biggest egg, yeah, but was easily the smallest of the three siblings.
And he was picked on.
As siblings will do.
His siblings gave him the youngest sibling treatment. I'm guessing is what that was depicting there. I don't know. I'm the oldest, so
yeah. As the oldest, I will say yes.
it's certainly anxiety inducing for me. I relate to that sort of need to measure up at all, um, at every turn, struggling to compete with, your peers and your siblings, for status.
And he references his shortcomings all throughout the film too, like the way that he grew up. He was, he said things like, "Oh, like I'm not very good at jobs, and that I can't, I'm too scared and all this stuff." But then he goes and he does it all just fine. Good for him.
Yeah, well, his father's very supportive. He says, you're what's the exact line? You're everything I am and more," something along those lines. Which seems very presumptuous because his father's this massive, towering dinosaur, and Arlo's this little runt.
Well, I think it's one of those things that it's like, as a parent, you're pushing your kids to like do more and try more, because of course he's like being the runt and the younger one. He's like kind of timid.
Mhm.
And so he's like, oh yeah, like, oh no, I can't do it. Like, he's like, oh yeah, you have to find out what's eating the corn and kill it. And then it comes to it and he's like, I can't kill it. I don't want to kill it. And so it's like one of those things that like the parents trying to teach him to do like what they want him to do. But then it's like, at the end of the day though, they're their own person. And so it's like, yeah, like you want to measure up, but like you kind of have to let them, like, if your kid doesn't want to kill the thing eating the corn, you just don't kill the thing eating the corn, I guess. Like,
Yeah. Sometimes like you had one job, you couldn't just do the one thing, but
well, and then he
well,
didn't do it, and look what happened.
yeah,
Chaos.
Ugh.
Chaos.
Well, and of course it is a tough world that they're living in. The whole idea of like, oh, you have to earn your mark, and it's like, oh my gosh, what if I'm just gonna starve and die like a lot of poor helpless creatures in this harsh, indifferent world. But thankfully, like, they're intelligent dinosaurs capable of agriculture, but if they don't get their harvest in before the winter, like, there's a chance they might not have enough food for the winter. And then Arlo gets lost, when they're in the middle of this harvest, and that puts even more strain on an already strained family who's just lost the father. So, like, he really doesn't seemingly do a whole lot of, highly evident um, contribution in order, well, at the end. And this is the part that got me the most emotional, is that he does get his mark at the very end of the movie, but it's like, well, what did he do? But I guess that's the key, is he he is a part of that family, and for them, the fact that you know they thought he was maybe,
Surprise.
they thought he was maybe dead, and he was no longer.
Yeah, he like made it back.
So it's
They
like,
were like, we're just happy you're here. Get your paw up on there.
I mean,
Get your foot up there.
which is a big deal that he did make it back, because I don't know if they specify how long he's gone or whatever, but
It's a couple of days.
It was a while. It was long, and for a little dinosaur who's afraid of everything to even be gone for an hour, who's never been gone before, is probably scary to dinosaur mommy. And then here he comes back, days later, after, especially like when they've been having these bad storms and stuff, which I'm sure is also affecting that family as well, assuming they're close enough in geographical location to where it's taking place. I'm not sure. But no, I bet it was just like, oh, you know what? Like, we probably like didn't believe in you, but we do now, because you made it back. Like, I didn't think you had it in you, Arlo, but you did it.
Just survived.
Especially like, and especially because he was like basically like a kid dinosaur. So like, like a full grown, like whatever he was, like Brontosaurus or whatever it was, a full grown one doesn't have to worry about like getting eaten by a carnivorous dinosaur. But him being like a kid dinosaur, he is smaller. And so it's like, oh yeah, you made it back without getting eaten by pterodactyls or velociraptors or even T-Rexes, even though the T-Rexes were cool. It's like, oh yeah, you made it back. And I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, he also helped Spot get back to his family too, though.
What if he
I
just
mean,
went?
He tried to not. He
he
tried to say, oh,
was
he
like,
saw that man waiting on him on the mountain, and he said, we got to get home.
let's go a different way.
Yeah.
Don't look over there, young man.
What if he just went?
Going home. All the corn you can eat.
If he just went and hid in a cave for a few days and like, subsisted on berries, and just lived it up, easy life for a few days, and while his family searched for him, as long as he stayed hidden enough, he could have just done that and then come back and earned his mark.
Yeah, but did his family even go looking for him? Like, they didn't even talk about that. Like,
I don't know.
Did he just like go away and then they were like, oh, he's gone now? They didn't even cut to like even like a 10-second clip of his family crying, like not even like walking out for him or nothing. He just goes away and they're like, thank God he's gone.
If they didn't search for him,
very good anyway.
He could have just camped out like the hill over if they didn't search for him and just hung out for a few days and then come back. But no, I mean, I think they sensed he had been through hell and
he's been through it.
Just his posture.
Comes back, yeah. You come back and it's like you've changed from like this little kid to like a kid who knows more.
Someone who's lived a life, like
yeah,
a
who's
whole
been
life.
through it. Well, that and I think even that like paired with the death, it's like, yeah, now you've gone through all of this trauma and turmoil. You're a grown up now.
And then having to let his like little buddy go. So sad.
I know. He's had so much loss.
I mean, that's objectively the most emotionally poignant scene in the film, I would say.
Because he goes through all that trouble to like save him. And then, he does all this stuff to save him. Like, he's doing these little things building up to that really big climactic moment in the river. When Scott's in like the little tree trunk or whatever in the middle of the river, and he goes and saves them and blah blah blah, and then he has to like say goodbye. It's so sad.
And you see how Spot is welcomed in by this other family, and that's it's super touching. I was maybe a little zoned out at that point, that to where I just maybe intentionally just didn't want to take in the full weight of the
but and I think it's like he had to like learn to kind of be like selfless,
for sure,
because he's like, like I want to keep it, I want to keep him, he's mine. And he's like, oh, you should let him go to his family. He's like, but I could keep it. Like, I don't want to.
But was that even Spot's family?
I'm assuming it was, because they were like howling.
He only puts when Arlo's doing the thing where he's like showing, like he's like, this is my family, and like draws a circle around it, and then Spot does it too, and he has 3 sticks, and then he like takes away the 2 larger sticks, symbolizing his parents. And then when he goes to these other humans, there's not just 2 of them, or there's like another kid or 2, or there's more of them than what I would have thought. And also their features are different.
Well, they have like gray hair and stuff.
This family has pointy noses, which was something that I noticed. All of them had pointy noses, and his was round. And then the hair color was different. And then the animal pelts that they had on were also different colors. This family all had the same color, whereas his was more like a leopard print or cheetah print or something. So I'm wondering if
it is different.
It was
it's not his family,
or just another human civilization that he recognized as, well, dinosaurs and I know people, so
I
wonder if like that really was his family or not. Regardless, like that's where he felt he belonged. It's not.
It's not. No, I looked it up.
Okay.
I looked it up.
Spot basically.
Adopted,
Spot basically tells Arlo that his parents are dead.
Okay, I thought they were. So I didn't think that was his family at the end, but I obviously is like where he felt like he should
Hmm.
be. So
Yeah, he gets taken in by the Targaryen family with the silver hair.
Yeah, well, it says that they're like a family of like Neanderthal characters, which is why they have like blonde
Okay.
hair and he doesn't. So yeah, I guess it's like he's like, hey, I mean, I guess it's like because they're supposed to be like dogs. It's kind of like how packs of like dogs will take in other dogs and they just like run around with each other and like hang out. So there's Arlo was like, hey, you look like them. You should go with them. They're gonna
Mhm.
help
they
you out.
howled. They all howled. They
Yeah, that's
their own
why
way to communicate.
that's what I'm saying.
So
They're basically just dogs. They're
Do
all cool.
wolves exist
Spot
in
is a
this world?
dog. Yeah.
Dogs, oh well.
No, I didn't get that his family was dead, but that does make sense. It's like they both like lost stuff, so now they have to like find where they need to be.
Yeah, they do the little stick families, and when Spot, stands his three sticks up, he then, you know, takes the two larger sticks representing his parents and lays them down and buries them, as if like they're dead and in the ground.
his
Man, that
parents
it was such
must
a
have
dark
just died
movie.
though, because he's such a young kid and he's by himself. And like, how did he last by himself for so long, being so young? Like, I wonder if the same flood that wiped out Arlo's dad, like, wiped out his parents too.
Maybe.
They don't really touch
Well,
on
I
like
don't.
backstory, so who knows?
Yeah, but Spot was there before. But
Oh yeah,
I they
well
had
yeah.
mentioned that the
Oh
weather
yeah,
wasn't great, and if they, back then it's like that was a time of like when people like foraged and lived on the land. So it could have just been like it could have been a number of things. It could have gotten eaten by pterodactyls.
yeah.
We don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Spot was on his own for a while.
Yeah,
I
that's why he
mean,
was living in
yeah,
the silo.
just a little feral child.
Feral child, aren't they all?
They are. Yes.
Like in Mad Max 2, the Road War. Wait, okay, yeah, Mad Max 2 is the Road
Yeah,
Warrior.
Fury Road.
Was there a feral child in Fury Road as well? There was
Were they
definitely
feral? I feel like everyone was feral in those
kind of,
movies.
but there's a feral child in the second Mad Max movie. And speaking of what's his name? Freaking Mad
Tom
Max.
Hardy?
John,
No.
what
Was
am I
Mel
blanking?
Gibson the
Mel
first one?
Gibson. Mel Gibson.
Yeah. I was like,
Uh,
Tom Hardy was the last one.
the score of this movie reminded me of Braveheart, like the main theme. It's just a few bars different, seemingly, than the Braveheart theme.
I can see that. Yeah.
But well, I didn't recognize the names of. I think it was two co-collaborators, brothers, who did the score for the Good Dinosaur. It's their cast, music by Jeff Dana and Michael Dana.
Hmm.
So. I find that a lot with, and Pixar movies tend to like using fairly orchestral, symphonic, like almost operatic style scores, like classic, James Horner, who did Braveheart, or John Williams, of course, popularizing the use of very symphonic scores with his work on Star Wars, Jaws, but the animated films are some of the few movies nowadays that really carry on that classical tradition. A lot of scores are more just like background ambience nowadays. But
Yeah.
yeah, with these, like Michael Giacchino does a lot of Pixar movies, and I find a lot of his scores resemble like other works by other famous film composers. But that's just kind of how it goes. Everyone's kind of iterating on everything that's come before.
Well, I think like movies that don't have like songs in it,
Mhm.
like having like the orchestral type background music, it's always a good way to like give the audience tone without being like blatantly like, hey, we're singing. This is a song about being sad. It's like, oh yes, let's give me some somber sad music in the background. But I looked it up. Apparently, Michael Dana, he has an Oscar for best original score for Life of Pi.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, he's Jeff Dana. I don't see any Oscars here, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
There are a few movies about singing dinosaurs. There's one with John Goodman back in the 90s. It's called like We're Back, a dinosaur story or something like that.
I've seen it. I've seen
Okay.
that. Yes, I have seen it.
I
I
have
have
not
seen that
seen it.
movie. It is interesting. I will tell you because I don't think I watched it as a kid. I watched it as an adult and I was like, what is this? And I watched it with my daughter and I was like, what are we watching? It's very interesting. There's like magic and evil carnival. They basically like get brought back to life. Like dinosaurs get brought back to life in like modern day, but it's the 90s.
I think James Horner did the score for that. I don't know. I don't think he did the like musical numbers, but he did the score, if I'm not mistaken. Music by it just says music by James Horner. So, but there is singing in that movie, correct? I'm not making that up.
Yes.
I think,
Yes, there
I
is.
think so. And
It's not like a blatant musical though. It's just
okay,
like there are songs.
sure. Well, and then the Land Before Time sequels, but not the
Mhm.
original. Weirdly, it evolves into a musical franchise, but only the non-theatrical installments.
Which is weird because I feel like I've seen so many of them. Like I couldn't even tell you like which one's which at this point. They're a blur to me from my childhood.
Well, the first one is like a real movie, and
Yeah,
then
it's like the legit movie.
the others are, kind of the direct to video aesthetic. Um, well, I appreciate you all coming on to do this and talk about a movie that's not necessarily in the cultural conversation, other than the fact that dinosaurs are a bit relevant right now. We've had the big documentary on Apple TV, and
We
also,
just had Jurassic World,
yeah, Jurassic World.
the end of that.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember what's that new show called on Apple TV?
It's a
Uh,
ooh, I don't know on Apple TV.
Dinosaur Walking with the Dinosaurs or something like that.
Sounds familiar.
Documentary, Apple TV. Rich David Attenborough, not Richard Attenborough. He was, he played the guy who founded Jurassic Park in the movie. Prehistoric Planet. Prehistoric Planet from May 18th, 2022 is when that debuted. It's a series. I started watching it, but it's like I've got so many things to watch. Um,
How I feel.
You're
Trying
like,
to
I gotta
think
rewatch The Good
everything.
Dinosaur. Come on.
great visual effects in that series, though. I know it's similar level quality to like a Jurassic Park or Jurassic World.
Wow.
Yeah,
Gotta get on Apple TV, man.
I know.
Apparently,
I
there's
there's
some
a
good
lot
stuff
of
on
good
there.
stuff on there that I want to see. I've never I don't even pay for any streaming services that I currently have now, so I'm not about to start.
Who wants to give us a login?
Right?
yeah, if we cover luck, I'll just give you,
Watch party.
We're on a
yeah.
A live
viewing
podcast
party.
of it.
Well, life will
Yeah.
find a way. um
Oh, hey, you know what we didn't talk about though?
what's that?
How pretty the scenes were.
I was gonna mention some of that in the final thoughts, but yeah,
Look, I ruined it.
no,
Sorry.
no, no, no.
I'm just kidding.
Thanks for bringing it up, because yeah, the look of this movie is very sort of distinctive from a lot of things. The first time Pixar did not have a consecutive annual release was, of course, the year 2014, but between 2006 with Cars and 2013 with Monsters University, Pixar had released, I think, exactly one film per year during that stretch. Took a little break in 2014, but there was, huge innovations that went on in the CGI animation industry in that time, to where there was a new lighting standard, so that a lot of people, collaborators within the film industry, came together and developed, called ACES, Academy Color encoding standards. Um, and that includes things like subsurface scattering. You see with Arlo, he's very cartoony looking, but the physiology is very realistic for an animated character. He
And
does bleed.
the
Yeah, the
textures
textures.
are amazing. Yeah.
Hmm. And then the environments, of course. Bridget, take it away on the environments.
Oh no, it was like almost realistic. It like which and I did read that article that you shared with me, and they were saying that they like took from the actual like mapping system that I don't remember what the acronym is right now, but that like the government map people use.
The United States
Yeah.
Geographical Survey or
Yeah.
Geological Survey.
Yeah, they like
USGS.
use that to like make all of the landscapes because they were like, we want it to seem like very realistic. And then
They
you have like
did.
these kind of cartoony people, I guess, characters in it. So they were like, yeah, we were like really wanted it. Like they apparently did a ton of like camping in Wyoming, like out in the West to get like the vibes. They went whitewater rafting, like lost a camera. But then like the people who took them whitewater rafting were like, oh yeah, we know where your camera will come out. And then they like went and found it. And so they had that footage of it like going down the river. I was like, ah, yes, they must have used that for all the drowning scenes, I guess. They were like, it's realistic. This is what happens. But yeah, it was
happen.
Yeah, and then they had so they had like painters come and like paint the scenes. And then which I think that they didn't do it. They did have like some painting for the sky, but they did a different kind of effect for the clouds and everything. Just so everything would just look really realistic. And I'm like, I don't know anyone that can draw that well to make or like paint that well to make a whole scene look realistic like that for like 50 miles.
Yeah.
They went real big with it.
I noticed that as soon as the movie started, I think it opens up with like on the water, like panning out to grassiness, and I was like, I don't remember this movie looking like. I was like, this looks like real, and then I'm like watching, and yeah, like the backgrounds, like all the like the environment, like looks so real, but the characters are very cartoony. But the fact that they're like the juxtaposition between the like super cartoony characters and the realistic setting kind of, I feel like, blends together really well with the way that they did use the textures in the dinosaurs and stuff, where they still made them, their shapes and is very cartoony, but and their coloring is kind of cartoon. I mean, I don't really know what dinosaurs looked like, what colors they were, but the colors were very bright, but then you have like those textures on the dinosaurs where it looks super real, and then I don't know, it just blended together super well. And then that with like the way that they moved being like natural looking, it was great. The animation was beautiful for this movie. It really was.
It was an intentional choice, to contrast the cartoony characters with this just extremely technically sophisticated new technology that they were able to utilize for this film. And I don't know, it maybe contrast a bit too much, or else people were just a little bit on Pixar overload in 2015 that the Good Dinosaur just didn't have the same kind of box office legs as something like, it came out around the same time as Frozen or but also Inside Out did not quite as well as Frozen at the box office, but similar numbers to what you would hope for from a Pixar film, especially an original Pixar film. What came out in 2014 in that Disney slot? It might not have been either. Okay, after Frozen 24, Big Hero 6. That's
Big
right.
Hero 6, which didn't. I feel like it didn't get enough hype. I love Big Hero 6. It's so good.
Have you watched the on the Disney Plus?
Baymax.
Isn't there like a little show now?
Yeah, the Baymax series. I've not seen it yet.
I haven't seen
it
either.
either.
I just saw a clip from it and it seemed really cute.
I started watching the Monsters series. Monsters at Work.
Monsters Inc. I love Monsters Inc. I watched Monsters Inc. for like 4 months straight because I didn't have cable when I was younger in my apartment, and I literally watched it every night. Monsters Inc. is my jam.
Yeah, and of course the new series kind of got by me, Monsters at Work, and
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I've seen the first episode.
I've seen the first episode. I haven't watched it yet, but my kids weren't really into it. Like my kids are into different stuff, and so I'm like, I either have to watch it like by myself when they're not paying attention, or like get them into it and convince them to
Yeah.
watch
I know I've
it.
seen promos somewhere, like Henry Winkler is in it as a voice and Mindy Kaling. So like they've got some good
Oh,
talent. Um, yeah, but it is low key great. Based on the first episode, it was really intriguing. So
I'll
I'm
have to check
definitely
it out.
yeah.
I still need to watch Monsters University though.
It's cute. I like it.
I haven't
I
seen
liked
it
it.
yet.
It's good. It's just them but younger.
Yeah.
It's just basically like them when they're like are emerging from like teenagers to being like college people. It,
Yeah.
it, it was interesting, but it was interesting though because it's like some of the thing there was something in Monsters Inc. that kind of like conflicted with them like meeting in university, and I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was like it didn't like add up that they met
Yeah,
in university.
there might have been some weird dialogue retcons, but also like would you why do you need to study scaring at a universe? Like these are
And
blue
you're a
collar
monster.
yeah, these are clearly like blue collar workers working at this big company, and it's not, it's
Went
sort
to
of just
school for this.
shift
Yeah,
work.
you're like I'm a college educated
Went
scarer.
to
Thank
school for a
you.
warehouse job.
Pretty much, but whatever, that's just it's a prestigious thing in this monster world. And then of course the scaring gets put on the kibosh in the first Monsters film, Monsters Inc. And you see that little appendix at the epilogue where now the monsters are acting as comedians. But it's like, how did that transition actually work? It seems almost like a bit of a leap that monsters who have trained their whole lives to be scarers are now capable of making kids laugh without just continuing to scare the living crap out of these kids.
And they've
Well,
been
that
doing it
was
for years.
well, that was another thing. Is like in Monsters Inc. Like Mike isn't really like the scarer, but he like tried so hard to be one in
Yeah.
university, and like they won doing it together, but then he doesn't do it when they go to work.
Well, and then he is the one in charge of converting the workflow at Monsters Inc. from scaring to
Laughing.
laughing.
Yeah. So it's
But
like continuity didn't really add up. But
well,
I'm like, I'm willing to look past it because I love Monsters Inc. So
well, just seeing the politics of how this transition occurs is really fascinating. And like there is a character in Monsters at Work who gets employed, just recently hired at the company to be a scarer, a recent graduate from Monsters University, and now his skill set is pretty much meaningless. It's just very relevant to a lot of how the industry works. And even with like this new visual effects documentary, Light and Magic, that's on Disney Plus about visual effects and Industrial Light and Magic, the company created by George Lucas, and has gone from mainly practical and optical effects to now like relying just so heavily on visual, computer effects, and those worlds just being so different that like when that initial like T-Rex in Jurassic Park was unveiled as a CGI model, there's so many people in like the model department and the animator Phil Tippett who did stop motion, was just like, oh gosh, my my work is extinct because this looks better than anything I could ever do using, a puppet. But
it's so wild though, because I've seen Do You Like That? And it's like surprisingly though, there are still movies that like want like hands-on like work. And honestly, I feel like I think CGI is cool and I think a lot can be done with it.
mm-hmm.
But I like movies that look like work went into it, like actual like there's like more work to it versus just like computer graphics.
The end result is always better when you combine the two.
Yeah, like put them
expensive.
together. It is.
Yeah.
I want both. Okay. I want both things. I'm spoiled. I don't know.
All right. Well, anyways, yeah, that's my recommendation for today. Monsters. I mean, they come out pretty digestible, or it's long been out on Disney Plus. There's maybe 10 episodes in the first season or so. 30-minute episodes. Yeah, yeah, good stuff. I guess Baymax, I maybe get around to that as well, but all these different things. I know there's going to be a Zootopia series as well, so it's almost overwhelming.
Interesting. I know. That's the thing about like the streaming industry now, that there's like so much. Like I haven't started watching She-Hulk because I didn't realize it was already out.
Oh.
And then I'm like, I like I loved Miss Marvel, thought it was very cute, but now I'm like, I have so many things I have to watch.
I
And I'm
will
like, I want
probably,
to, but
yeah. I've finished all the Marvel series on Disney Plus, and except for Ms. Marvel, I'm sure I'll get around to it, but it's not hooking me quite as much. I don't know.
That's the only one I started, and I never even finished the first episode.
I thought it was really cute. I would say get past the first episode because my husband wasn't really sold on the first episode. He's actually kind of on like a superhero burnout right now.
I'm
Sure.
He's
just
like
trying to force myself
overwhelmed by
into superhero
superheroes.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't do the superhero thing, so I'm trying to get into it.
We're
So
trying. We're like, watch it, watch
So
it.
there's a new episode of She-Hulk out. I'll probably check that because I did see the first episode. I thought it was good. I mean, I was intrigued by the whole like fourth wall breaking element of it. And I was like, oh,
they
is this
come
gonna
out
be?
weekly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
So She-Hulk was something that I was interested in. She's like a lawyer, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
She's
yeah.
what's his face's cousin
yeah. Bruce
or
Banner.
something? Yeah, Bruce Banner.
Is that Hulk?
Name. Yes.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
the Hulk's name. Yeah, she like basically like from what I know, she gets the same thing for some reason, and then she is basically She-Hulk.
Cool. Yeah, I want to watch it. I love like that girls get to be superheroes too now.
I know. I still haven't watched the Thor movie either, so I can see Natalie Portman as Mighty Thor. So I guess I
I have seen that.
have some stuff to catch up on.
No,
I'm gonna download the She-Hulk episodes to watch on the plane
I love
on Friday.
Fleabag. That was such a great series on Amazon Prime, I believe.
Fleabag.
Fleabag, yeah, where the character like is frequently breaking the fourth wall, not within the universe of the show necessarily, but she just talks to the audience sort of and narrates her journey.
Oh, I haven't watched that, but I've seen that people really like it. So I'm gonna have to put that on my watch list so I can watch it.
She-Hulk isn't quite like that. I'd be fine if they did a Marvelized version of that premise, but
So is it like fourth wall breaking, like Deadpool fourth wall breaking?
it's more like that, yeah.
Okay.
Which is weird.
Okay.
But
yeah, it is weird
whatever.
because I thought that's just like Deadpool's thing. I didn't think anyone else got to do that.
Like how seriously are we supposed to take this MCU reality? Like I guess maybe in universe you could explain it as, she's just not taking this whole superhero thing very seriously, so she's like pretending she's
Is it like
in
The
a sto-
Office? Is it like The Office where she just looks at the camera? She's like, what?
Oh, I hope so.
Well, and of course, in universe in The Office, that is an actual documentary crew. Like you do see them
Yeah.
from time to time, and I think that all ties together at like the very end of the series as well. Like they do acknowledge the whole documentary aspect of it a little bit more in depth. But yeah, Deadpool too, he's just so, advanced in his intellect that he can just kind of pause and narrate to himself, if you want to explain it that way. I don't know.
Well, like,
just,
isn't the next Deadpool going to be like under Disney's like thing? Like
I
under that
suppose
scope?
he'll get, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause they're like, oh yeah, it's going to be like legit rated R Disney movie. And I was like, I mean, technically, yeah, but
yeah, it's supposed to be in continuity to the MCU, and of course now everything is in continuity to a degree.
X-Men, yeah, X-Men's coming in.
Well, because of the whole multiverse thing, like you just say, oh, he's in just kind of a different universe, but the same, but it's all one multiverse.
Well, yeah, I was kind of like how like Venom was like briefly in the Spider-Man movie and then wasn't.
He was in the third one. That was my favorite one.
Yeah.
Well, she
just watched all the
Spider-Man movies.
The Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and then
I watched Tobey Maguire. That's my Spider-Man.
The whole Tom Hardy Venom movies, which are different. Those were released not by Disney but by Sony, so they aren't technically MCU, except there are those stinger scenes that do incorporate elements of the MCU, because with the whole multiverse thing, they could bring in like Venom now and Morbius, and the Sony stuff. Yeah, it's all they want to
I
figure out
wish I knew
Take
somewhere.
what you guys
over.
were talking about, but I have no idea.
Well,
Have you
also,
heard of yeah, I'll map it out for you one
I
day.
have
I'll draw you a
I
map.
have no clue what you guys are talking about at all.
I try to
it's
explain it
just
to Godfrey and he doesn't understand either. He's like, what? I need to know who. Can I just watch a movie where I don't need to know anything? Like,
I only know Tobey Maguire, so anything beyond that, I don't know.
it's a way to bring things together, but it's also a way to sort of kick things to the curb, because actors age and you have to recast things, and so you can use writing tricks to explain why certain characters aren't appearing, or why this different version of the character is now appearing because it's a different universe or a different section of the multiverse. You're bringing this whole new like Flash movie that's supposed to come out next year. Michael Keaton, yeah, is I mean, the big feature of that movie is that Michael Keaton's returning as Batman after many
I
decades.
love Michael Keaton as Batman.
Sounds
He was my
awesome.
favorite. He was my favorite Batman. Even though people like he was so corny, and I'm like, I love that. I love corny Batman.
They might have to deep fake the Flash, which might work out okay if they do that. But
I keep seeing that they want people are like, oh yeah, replace Ezra with the guy who's from the show, and I can't remember his name right now. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be fine. They could just be like, you know what, multiverse, that one's gone, this one's here. Sorry. They've been switched.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Grant
Spider-Man all
Grant
over again.
Grant Gustin is the actor, right? Because that's a very superhero-y sounding name, but it's
Oh,
the
and
actor.
he's like perfect for it, honestly.
Okay, they
That's
should.
when they announced Ezra Miller as like going to be the Flash, like when they started doing those movies and like including the Flash. And I was like, why don't they just use the guy who is the Flash on the show? But I don't know. You know how they are. They're like, we want to make it our own.
Yeah, it's a brave new world. You can bring up people from the TV world, and TV is just as prestigious as film now, anyways. But of course, there are different scales of stardom that you have to take into account. But it's like Ezra Miller, he's basically
He's
canceled.
problematic right now, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he's very problematic. It's not good. It's not looking good for him. So, or for them. I'm
For
sorry.
them.
For
Well,
them. I'm sorry.
yeah. So let's maybe
Yeah.
not
Well, yeah.
talk about Ezra Miller.
Yeah. They're not binary. Sorry. But yeah. So they're just not. They're not having a good time. They're in therapy right now because they're not having a
Let's
good
all
time.
hope the
Okay.
So,
best.
yeah.
It's a spectacle. I mean, I don't know if you saw the movie Nope, but it's all about like humans' fascination with wild spectacle, and
I
to
haven't
our
yet, but
detriment.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
want to see
really
it.
want to
I
see
want
it.
to see it.
It's good. It's not what I was expecting, and I was a little let down, but it's still very competent film from Jordan Peele. So
Well, every
recommend.
time I see it, like I used to, you see Get Out, and Get Out was so good, and so every time I see something, I'm like, is
I've
it gonna
never
be as
seen
good as
Get
Get
Out.
Out? What?
I've only seen the one with the scissors.
Yeah, us.
Us?
That's the only
Yeah,
one
Yeah,
I've
I've
seen
seen.
I've
Yeah.
seen them both. Get
seen.
Out isn't
Yeah.
like as creepy in the same way as
Oh,
Us.
I want to see Get Out.
It's good.
I keep
It's good.
meaning to watch it, just haven't yet. I've been trying to get on board with catching up on movies and stuff lately, so my big task.
She has movie days where she just watches movies all day.
Watch movies all day long. I'm trying to like people be like, "Oh, this movie's so good," and I was like, I'm always like, "I've never seen it." And they're like, "What? Have you never seen it?" And I'm like, "Oh God!" So I have like a
I'm
whole
busy.
Get
list on
Out,
my
yeah,
phone.
Get Out fires on all cylinders. It was a riot in the theaters. Us was a little more of a slow burn, but it's interesting.
I like those like psychological thriller suspense type things. Like
Well,
I just
I would
watched
say Get Out's like a twist.
I just
was
watched
like,
Old, which was good. I
Yeah.
don't
Oh yeah, it's a lot like
I just watched that the other night. I thought that was super good. I like movies like that where it's like I don't know, the kind of creepy, kind of
I
I like
like
stuff
creepy
like that.
movies.
I like the I don't like I'm not gonna say I don't like scary movies. I just don't really watch scary movies, but I love like the little like psychological like mind twisty type movies. So
yeah, definitely.
love stuff like that.
Yeah, one of my favorite genres, always has been. Apple TV Plus. Speaking of, there's a sort of a psychological drama called Physical that I really enjoy. Lady has eating disorder and set in the 80s, so there's a great soundtrack. So, but Rose Byrne, who was
I love Rose Byrne.
yeah, she got her start in like Star Wars, in her movie career. She was already pretty famous in Australia, I think, before Star Wars, but then she was one of the handmaidens in episode 2.
I was like, who was she? I do not remember her in Star Wars.
Corday, Padme's handmaid. She's only in a couple scenes.
When they were young, like she was younger.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She was like young. Okay, yeah. I actually think I do know that. My brain doesn't work.
She's been in a lot of things since then. Yeah, I mean,
She was in Bridesmaids.
Yeah, being such a Star Wars nerd, though, that's my that's my reference for everything.
Well, she's been in so much stuff, but I've actually seen Bridesmaids like recently, so I'm like, yes, Helen.
She was in the X-Men First Class. Yeah, X-Men First Class.
Oh yeah, isn't she like Xavier's like girlfriend?
Yeah, what's that character's name? Anyways, we've been rambling.
We were rambling at this point.
Thank you, Alex and Bridget, though, so much for chatting about movies and all this fun stuff. But yeah, let's let the audience, let the listener know where they can find you, Bridget, if you have some social media.
You can find me on Instagram. It's Bridget, Bridge with a T, 5246.
But Alex, you gonna
you can find me tagged in the Thodcast stories on Instagram sometimes.
Yeah, you don't mind if
if you really want to find me. No, yeah. I don't care if you tag me. I love it.
That's all right. Sounds good. So yeah, if you have to do some sleuthing if you want to find Alex, but otherwise find the Thodcast, thodcast.com, streaming on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music. That's the streaming app that I briefly subscribed to when I got a free trial. And at Thodcast on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at Philip Elke on Twitter and Instagram. Well, yeah, this was a fun, bit of a longer one, but it was a good chat. So we'll be back with some more Thodcast in the near future. Meanwhile, you all have a magical day. Have a wonderful week. Warm hugs.